Currently, manufacturing contributes 7.8% to the GDP. That is the overall productivity of the country. Now, there is this huge vision that by the year 2030, and this term, Vision 2030, has been very central in Kenya's dialogue, where we are going. By Vision 2030, manufacturing and the sector at large, they're aiming to contribute 20%. Now, these are percentages, numbers, and GDPs. But bottom line, what Kenyans care about is whether we are able to revive the sector and have the benefits accrued to reviving and making sure that manufacturing sector works for us. And that is our focus today on Transform Kenya. My name is Noah Kipkemboy and welcome. And today I have a wonderful panel. Experts, people who've walked the walk and talked the talk. Definitely. Very, very important. On my immediate left, we have Professor Alfredo Gola, and he's a professor of strategy and corporate governance expert. Welcome to Transform Kenya, sir.
Thank you very much, Noah.
All right. Up next, the gentleman in striped shoe, striped tie and also striped suit, looking sharp as always, Dr. Shem Agie. He's a business expert and an investor, and you are into manufacturing too. We'll talk about your personal experiences and so far what can be done to better, the environment for manufacturers like you, all right? Lastly, we have the face of manufacturing in the country. Anthony Mwangi is the CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
I meant to understand you're meeting the president just before you came. So you have the message from the big man.
I was in a meeting where he was.
Yeah, there was a meeting where he was. All right. Yeah, so today is very interesting, gentlemen. And for starters, when you talk about manufacturing, Kenya has been on a journey. Now, for example, just the sugar belt itself. People give references. Oh, you remember the days of Kabra sugar. Remember the days of Mumia sugar. And now it is an issue. Farmers in Western Kenya are complaining. What exactly is happening? And that is not only in the sugar belt. It's touching on each and every critical sector. So to set the ball rolling in this conversation. Starting with you, Prof.
Yes.
I want you in brief to tell us, when did the rain start beating us in the world of manufacturing? Briefly.
Thank you very much, Noah, and thank you very much, our viewers. I think this conversation on Transform Kenya is a very important conversation because transform means that there's where we need to move or come from and where it needs to go. Like the Vision 2030 outlines, everything is much there. But what made us to leave where we're going was something that happened without noticing. Remember that Vision 2030 was set up by the Social and Economic Council that were to oversee how it was supposed to be implemented so that Kenya can actually reach what's called the 20% to the GDP. But remember now, when Kibaki left office, this Social and Economic Council died away. Then any president can come and say what he wants. For example, Agenda 4 or the Big 4 agenda, which was looking like come from Vision 2030 but not clearly aligned. Then, of course, you come to now the current president, which has come with the bottom-up economic agenda, which, of course, is different from what Uhuru did and also what different from what Kibaki did. So the issue of administrative continuity on the issues of Vision 2030 has not been done. And remember, most of the things we are talking about, Kenya should be a middle-income economy by 2030. Means that anybody can live a middle-class life. Means that you can afford a car, you can be able to afford a house of this decent living and the rest, but that is not the issue now.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to manufacturing, let me just talk about just to understand how economy develops so that you understand, give you a basis. The first type of economy is called hunting and gathering, where people go and collect guavas and eat wild fruits and the rest and leaves. The second type of economy is called agrarian, where people are focusing mostly. The bigger percentage of the economy comes from agricultural activities. The third kind of economy is now called manufacturing, where we are talking about now. That's why I talk about industrialization.
Okay.
The fourth one is called deindustrialization. Deindustrialization, whereby we have done a lot of manufacturing, so services industry now become bigger contributor to the economy than actually manufacturing. Then after deindustrialization, talk about reindustrialization, where I now use technology, data gathered during the manufacturing to now produce. That's where America is now. Okay. Now, when you talk about the issue of 20%, if you ask me, I'm going to contribute something very controversial because I'm an economist. We should not pursue the issue of 20% in manufacturing, because where we want to, if we want to win this war now, yes. Britain won this war 4,000 years ago, because Britain was seen as the workshop of the world, where manufacturing was taking place. There was the show front and the rest. But America is in tech manufacturing. Now, 62% of the GDP of Kenya comes from service sector, meaning that we are ripe to leapfrog, to move from just thinking that we shall have a clear continuum from hunting and gathering, agrarian, manufacturing, industrialization, deindustrialization. We can actually move to reindustrialization, because look, we have media houses, we have fintech.
Yes.
We move from no bank to mobile bank. So it's possible that using young people, yes, as techno-savvy people, we can manufacture robots. We can do some services even outside the country, but from inside the country, just using technology. And I believe that we can manufacture using technology, and it's cheaper to do that than thinking that we shall do this, because we talk about the cost of energy, efficiency, among other things.
And definitely we'll go into that, into the details, and some of the suggestions that you're bringing on the table. And I can see the chair of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers thinking about what Prof is saying here, that in that growth, we can jump some of them and perceive technology, the tools that we have at hand, to sort of leapfrog us in a way, not only to target on 20%, but even to do greater. But as the chair as the CEO rather, thank you very much. Thank you for that correction, sir. As the CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the same question briefly, just to set the stage. When did we have that change of the manufacturing that we knew back in the day?
Thank you, Noah, and it's good to join, Prof. Of course, when I was pursuing my master's degree at Strathmore, he was there, so we know each other for some time. And of course, Dr. here, and our viewers. It's a very interesting conversation, and I want to thank you for thinking about the Transform Kenya, because we might be thinking about this kind of subjects. Let's put this in context. When you talk about the contribution to GDP, and it's just a metric, to measure where we are. If you go back 10 years ago, 2011, we are at 11.1% to the GDP. And then we've come down southwards, 2021 to 7.2, uptick 2022, 7.8%. But what does that mean? It's important for us to quantify. At 7.8%, manufacturing has the second largest waged employment, second from the public sector, right? So you have a 7.8% contribution to the economy, but you have the second largest number of jobs. Contributes about 18% to the public coffers. That's about 360 billion. See, the contribution is not commensurate, because this 7.8 contributed 18%. If you look at the output, is in excess of 3 trillion. So when we talk about manufacturing, even though it has been going down, does not mean that the manufacturing itself is shrinking. And Prof has alluded to that. The service sector has taken up, the telco, the banking. They have grown faster than manufacturing. But manufacturing itself in nominal terms has grown. So we are not yet at the deindustrialization face,
Yes.
as the professor has put it. It is growing. Can it grow faster than that? Yes, it can grow faster.
Okay.
That is why when we met with His Excellency the President last year in October, we all agreed that we are going to high grade it to 20%.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And then what does that mean? We'll come to that perhaps as we go down the conversation.
Definitely.
The question is, if the trajectory has been southwards, what is this thing that will fundamentally change to make manufacturing now grow from 7.8% to 20%?
That's a good question, sir.
And is it possible?
Is it possible?
Is it doable? Is it easy? Certainly not easy, but it's doable. Others have done it.
All right.
Yes.
Definitely. Very important. So we need sort of a bounce back. If that is, you know, a Nike kind of tick.
Yeah.
Let us hit, then bounce back.
Yeah.
But, you know, I want to bring in Dr. Shem, because you are an investor. Now, we've seen from a technical perspective, from, you know, an association perspective, and overally. But on the ground, you know the famous quote by Kenyans, for ground, V2 need different sometimes. For you as an investor, especially in manufacturing, looking at it, you've invested in natural beauty products manufacturing. Your evolution in business, what is the status quo on the ground as we speak right now, before we start discussing that issue of bouncing back? As we speak, status quo.
Thank you, Noah, for having me. I have a very simple experience that I believe that investment in manufacturing on the ground is a big challenge. They have to tell the truth. It's a big challenge. You know, when we talk about these, we talk about big companies. No one will talk about Wananchi who is struggling to come out with something. So the challenge is there's no mechanism to help the youth, the women. All the mechanism, all this technology they are talking about is for only the big men, big companies. You understand? So let me give you a sample, like maybe going to other foreign countries, in the experience like maybe China. You can see even small companies doing their things, but China government supports them. We may have this band here.
Yes.
Maybe this one, you see the woman sitting down trying to struggle to do this. Chinese will use technology. You know, a young man there will get the support of government and do maybe 1 million of this to bring to Kenya and sell to us maybe 10 shillings.
Yes.
Why? Big companies are here, ministers are there, government is there, seeing these ladies struggling, doing. What support are they giving to them? So when you go to the ground, it's messy. I'm very happy as he's talking about that, it was 11-point-something%, it dropped and it dropped. Why is it dropping? And yet he said it's booming. How? We run front, we don't run backwards. You see?
Yes.
So the main issue here is if it's dropping back, there must be something wrong they have to look at.
Yes.
Either corruption or either suppressing others, don't give them much time or don't give them any support to come out. You see?
Yes.
So in my experience as a foreign investor, I feel like I have experienced so much grounds to see young youth who are trying to do even common, simple product. As KEPS trying to support them, KRA will go and take everything from them. You see,
Yes.
Other ministries are trying to bring them up. Other ministries also are taking them down.
All right.
But you cannot build big industry without Wananchi support, because these are the people you are working with them. They are learning from you. They are seeing what you are doing. You are using machine. They will go home, try to do it manually and see
Yes.
how it works.
Definitely.
Instead of giving him support, you will not. So that's why we depend on only the big giant manufacturers. That's why we are coming down.
Okay.
If we have the Wananchi system where it's coming out and supporting is coming, their contribution can actually push this forward.
Okay.
That's all
Wow. And I know. Actually, you guys have received, it's not even a job. I can just call it, yeah? You are the big boys seated by the side. Yeah? And before we give that response, I'd like us also to get a different perspective in regards to that notion that as a manufacturing sector, it's not as vibrant and as competitive as it should be. Then we'll come back and respond to that. So at this particular moment, I'd like to cross over to my colleague, Jimmy Mbogo, who will tell us more in regards to matters competitiveness of the manufacturing sector in Kenya, the status quo, and where we are. Over to you, Jimmy.
All right, thank you very much, Noah, and your panel. Of course, this is a conversation that is coming at a time when global competition, and we're pretty much living in a world that has become one big global village, and we just want to have a conversation around global competitiveness with that is the board chair of the Kenya Session of Manufacturer, Mr. Rajansha. Thank you so much for making time to speak to us and to be part of this conversation. So I just want to get from...
All right. A little bit of a technical issue right there. In fact, maybe it's God just being good to you big boys. Yeah? Because you haven't been considerate of the small man. You wanted to respond, but we want to take a short break. All right? Is that fair? Then we come back with that response. I think that will be fair. So that you can simmer over it. We come down and we give a response towards that. All right? Remember, this is Transform Kenya. And the conversation is manufacturing in Kenya. Is the small boys not considered when you talk about manufacturing in the country? And what can be done to boost the sector even further? Keep it right here on KTN News. And we take a short break. We'll return with more.